Ah, there she is. Okay. It's 7 o'clock. I'm going to call this meeting to order of the March the 8th regular town council meeting. I'd like to take a motion for the adoption of the agenda. Councilor Riddick, thank you very much. Is there any additions or deletions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Councilor Riddick, you just put your finger underneath the egg. Looked like the egg was spinning on your finger, Councilor Barry. Sorry. Next, we'll have the adoption of the minutes. So I'll take a motion for the minutes, please. Councilor Warba, thank you. Any errors or omission within those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. Well, before we get to correspondence, I'd just like to recognize the fact that today is National Women's Day, and the fact that we have a very good representation of women on our council, and how proud we are to work with you all every day. It has been a pleasure. So, first up, Cliff Craig will be reading correspondence from the Honorable Rick Mciver, Minister of Municipal Affairs.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. This is from the Office of the Minister of Alberta Municipal Affairs. I am pleased to invite your municipality to provide submissions for the 20th Annual Minister's Award for Municipal Excellence, which formally recognizes excellence in local government practices and promotes knowledge sharing among municipalities. These awards offer an opportunity to recognize the truly great work happening in local governments across Alberta. For the 2021 program, submissions will be accepted in the following categories: partnership, building economic strength, service delivery innovation, enhancing community safety, and smaller municipalities, open to municipalities with populations of less than 5,000. Further details about eligibility and submission requirements are available on the Minister's Awards for Municipal Excellence website. I encourage you to share your success stories, and I look forward to celebrating these successes with your communities. Sincerely, Rick Mciver, Minister.
Okay, we'll take a motion to receive and file the letter from the Minister. Councilor Waters, thank you. Any comments? Has anybody thought of any awards that we might put our name forward for? Okay, then Cliff, we'll stick with everyone then. We'll put our name for everyone then. Okay, all those in favor? Thank you. Another letter from the Minister Mciver.
Yes, I am writing to provide you with more information about Budget 2021, which my colleague, the Honorable Travis Tays, tabled in the legislature. I would specifically like to provide you with details on the items in Municipal Affairs Budget 2021 that affect municipalities the most. To begin with, I am pleased to tell you that Municipal Affairs is investing more than $1.7 billion overall to build stronger communities. Those funds will deliver important programs and services and will support effective governance and preserve public safety. I must also acknowledge that as a result of several factors, including falling revenues and the ongoing costs of COVID-19 pandemic, we need to reduce government spending in Alberta. Our goal is to do this while also continuing to provide significant infrastructure funding in the near term to support our economic recovery and help municipalities adjust to new levels of funding in future years. Over the next 3 years, from 2021 through 24, as we all strive to live within our means, municipalities will receive about 25% less in capital funding than they did in 2020 to 21. In real terms, that means Municipal Sustainability Initiative, or MSI, capital funding will average $722 million a year over that time. To support continued economic and stimulus efforts, more of the funding that will be made available upfront and in subsequent years. To help you adjust to a reduced average funding level, $0.196 billion in MSI capital funding will be made available to municipalities and Métis settlements in 2021 and $485 million in each of the next 2 years. Additionally, municipalities and Métis settlements will continue to receive the full $30 million under the operating component of the MSI. As you are aware, MSI was scheduled to conclude in 2021-22 and will be replaced by the legislated funding provided under local government fiscal framework in subsequent years. Given the current circumstances and economic uncertainty, we are extending MSI for 2 years to stabilize provincial revenues before launching the local government fiscal framework in 2024-25. The baseline funding level for that first year of the LGFF will remain at $722 million. We thank municipalities for understanding that this change was necessary to respond to the serious challenges we are all facing. The estimated 2021 MSI allocations are available on the program website. I'm also pleased to advise you that Alberta expects to receive $255 million in federal funding under the Gas Tax Fund. The estimated 2020 GTF allocations are available on the program website. Links to the program websites and the MSI and GTF allocations are provided in the transmittal email accompanying this letter. MSI and GTF program funding is subject to the Legislative Assembly's approval of Budget 2021. Individual allocations and 2021 funding are subject to ministerial authorization under the respective program guidelines. Federal GTF funding is also subject to confirmation by the Government of Canada. You should expect to receive letters confirming MSI and GTF funding amounts in April, commitments in April. To help municipalities respond to the requirements of the Alberta Senate Election Act and Referendum Act, our government is making $10 million available to support costs associated with operating Senate nominee elections and referendums in conjunction with local elections. This funding will be available under the Alberta Community Partnership Program, increasing the total program budget to $25.4 million. I'm happy to say that funding to support local public library boards will remain stable, helping those groups provide a vital resource to residents through this especially trying time. I am also pleased to report that due to some great work from our staff at the Surface Rights Board to reduce the backlog of landowner claims, we will be able to save $600,000 in our yearly operating expenses. This has not been by any means an easy time for Albertans. We understand the challenges that communities will continue to face in the months and years ahead. We remain committed to providing sustainable levels of capital funding to support critical local infrastructure, promote economic development, and enable local governments to continue to deliver the programs and services that Albertans depend on. As Albertans, we are no strangers to adversity. We have overcome challenges in the past, and we will continue to do so. I look forward to working with all of you to ensure that Alberta overcomes today's challenges and shares in a bright and prosperous future together. Sincerely, Rick Mciver, Minister.
Get a motion to receive and file. Councilor Berry, thank you very much. Any comments? Councilor Rudy.
So the last time that we met, you had asked that I find out a little bit more about the gas tax fund as it relates to the funding mechanism that comes from the federal government. So while it cannot be explained by another body, namely FCM, that does the advocacy for the gas tax, how the federal government chooses to source its funding. The program itself, gas tax, is one of the few direct reporting that shows very clearly, and a very clear reporting method, what money is received and what money is expended. So it's one of the very few money in and money out. And for every dollar that is spent on the gas tax fund results in $1.60 in real GDP in each community. So it's the very picture, it's a model of fiscal responsibility on a local level. So just as a point of clarification and follow-up from our previous meeting.
I do appreciate that. So I know we first seen this letter at our ledge meeting, and we are getting accustomed to the next, not this year, but the next 2 years, and they moving forward, there'll be an election and another council. So we need to do our best to be careful with the way we're spending MSI money. I know we've put some away and we've already dedicated some because incoming councils are going to have 25% less to spend. So again, it's our responsibility to be very careful with how we're spending the money that we had been put away too. So it's nice to see that they left the libraries funded the way they did. And again, we're Albertans, we'll figure out a way. I mean, it's a little challenging for everybody right now. So sure that for the hardship, it's going to be the next couple of years that we'll find a way to make it through this. So okay, any other comments? All those in favor? Gary, thank you. Paul Casey, monthly cash statement.
Yes, Your Worship, this is the monthly cash statement for the month ended February 28th, 2021. We began the month with $7,926,327. We had a net increase of cash of $2,012,779 and ended the month with $9,939,106, of which $7.3 million of that is in our treasury account and $2.6 million is in a high interest savings account. Major sources of cash during the month of February were grants in place of taxes for $991,769. The STIP grant portion related to Southeast 17 of $800,000. The municipal operating support transfer of $582,986. Franchise fees of $136,228, and our quarterly GST refund of $85,320. Major uses of cash during the month were our 2021 general insurance premium of $215,754, which is $3,000 less than it was last year. Our water commission payment of $76,395. Utilities for $94,355, and engineering fees for Southeast 17 of $75,697.
Councillor Rudy, you make the motion. Thank you. Comments? Councillor Rudy.
So I don't often ask questions because a lot of times it seems very straightforward on the financial statements, but the $215,000 and change price tag for the insurance, of course, caught my attention. If it was $3,000 less, does that mean that the insurance companies gave a rebate for the fact that most of our fleet, as well as our operations, were reduced last year to COVID-19?
I couldn't say whether the insurance companies are giving us a rebate for that. I know that the premiums went down in some areas. Usually AUMA, if they are going to give us a rebate, it's later on in the year. And we typically do get some sort of rebate from them. But our premium now, for now, is $215,000, unless, we may get a rebate of some kind, but I'm not sure that's for insurance. I think that's just for generally being involved with AUMA.
Well, I'm just happy that the taxes in lieu of the grants came in, and it's nice that some other money from that STIP grant came through, and it was a good month. Any other comments? All those in favor? Carried. So next up, Dale LaFave.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is an RCD regarding the landfill compactor purchase. The proposal is to approve the budgeted expenditure for compactor at the Vegreville Sanitary Landfill in 2021. The background. At the February 16th, 2021 Legislative Committee meeting, Council was given a presentation on landfill compaction. The highlights of this presentation were as follows. Compaction is a requirement of Alberta Environment and Parks. Waste volumes at the landfill have doubled this year. Purchasing a compactor will, number one, restore the life expectancy of the landfill to 52 years from the currently estimated 26 years. Life cycling of the crawler loader will double from the replacement of after 5 years to replacement after 10 to 12 years. Life cycling of the compactor can be anticipated to be 10 to 15 years. Increase compaction by 110%. And achieve compaction in less passes, resulting in a 66% savings in operator time, fuel, and equipment wear. The current crawler loader will still be required to level off garbage on the working face and place daily cover material over the compacted area. In discussion with vendors and other landfills, the Municipal Services Manager has selected 3 options. The recommended compactor is the Tana E380 at $1,033,411 with a compaction maximum weight of 1,050 kilograms per cubic meter. Option 2 is the CAT 826K at a price of $1,087,700. Maximum compaction is 850 kilograms per cubic meter. Option 3 is the BOMAG BC 972, $1,075,200 with a maximum compaction of 900 kilograms per square meter, per cubic meter. A 5% contingency will be added to the recommended compactor for a total of $1,085,000. This will cover any incidental costs incurred as well as compensate for any market fluctuations or minor changes in the exchange rate that may have a negative impact on the price of the unit. Financial implications. In accordance with policy FIN 6007, council approval is required for this unbudgeted expenditure. A transfer of up to $1,085,000 from the Equipment Reserve Fund to the Capital Fund is required. The Municipal Services Manager will be notified of council's decision and advised to post the opportunity on the Alberta Purchasing Connection and move forward with purchasing the equipment. Recommendation. Recommendation is being made that Town Council authorize the purchase of a compactor for the Vegreville Sanitary Landfill in the amount of up to $1,085,000, and further, the Town Council approve the chance to transfer from the Equipment Reserve Fund to the Capital Fund in the amount of up to $1,085,000.
Okay, thank you. Take a motion for the recommendation. Councillor Barry. Any comments? Well, go ahead, Councillor Riddick.
So thank you very much for presenting this, Dale. I appreciate the fact that this council has started to allocate reserves in a responsible manner to forward plan for big purchases like this. While I appreciate the thought and consideration that's gone into making this decision, I cannot support this purchase at this time. I do feel like there are other solutions that could take precedence, and they're not exploratory, but could solve problems long-term. I think that there are a number of considerations in purchasing this compactor. It's extremely expensive, and I understand it's important for the efficient operation of the landfill. That said, there are a number of different purchases in that column that would include continuing operations in the way that we currently practice. I would be more in favor of looking towards futurescaping, future planning, and preventing what we know is going to happen, a very expensive closure of a landfill, by sourcing other ways of dealing with waste. So I appreciate the opportunity to be able to explore those opportunities with council. And I understand that we might have a different of opinion on where we land at this point, but I cannot support this purchase at this time.
Okay, any other comments? Councillor Warwick, you're first, then Councillor Barry.
Thank you. And I too appreciate the presentation today, and I definitely will be in support of looking at our other options that are available. For me, I just stand that I don't think we're in either or scenario. I really think that we need to be at a both scenario, which is addressing the now and looking into the future. So I appreciate very much Councillor Rudick bringing forward that presentation and look forward to working that, but do feel that we're making the best decision. That's why I'll support purchasing of the compactor today. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Berry.
Yes, my comments are much along the same line. I definitely agree with Councillor Rudick that we need to look into the future. We need to plan for the future, and diverting from the landfill will be important. And I would suggest that we start to save monies in reserve to look towards that in the future. But right now we're faced with the situation where we have to conserve the space in our landfill as it is. So I would support getting the compactor now, but to continue looking into viable options that will help us in the future. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Councillor Waters first, and then Councillor Lemon.
Just on what Councillor Berry was saying on diverting with the compactor, I think it's still important for us to look at bettering our sorting options when the loads do come in. Just recycle as much as we can, compact when necessary, and that too can help extend the life of the landfill. And we do need to plan for the future as well as technologies increase and new ideas come forward. We got to keep our eyes and ears open for that as well. So I would be in support of the compactor as our immediate fix, but focusing on the future as well.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lemko.
Yes, I agree with the majority of councillors who've spoken so far that we must prepare ourselves for the future. But at the same time, that's down the road. And right now, the need for the compactor is here because we're increasing our intake twice as much as it has been in the past. So the time to be prudent is right now with the compactor, and also to be mindful of the fact that we need to look at other sources of how we treat our landfill with our waste.
Okay. Councillor Broadjet.
I am also in support of the same opinion as many of the councillors, that we do need to put aside reserves for future planning of a different way of diverting our waste. So I will support this recommendation. I feel that 26 years, our current estimated lifespan right now is not a long time. So we do need to extend that as much as we can. And again, to put reserves aside for alternative.
Okay, well, thank you all for your comments. I know that this is a very large budget item that was not budgeted, but what we've seen in the last 2 years at our landfill, the amount of intake and the compaction that we're getting. I can also attest to being a part of a council that we took a look at private garbage collection and what the cost was going to be. And the way we operate in this town, our employees are in a collection truck. They're also doing other responsibilities in our town. So it wouldn't make sense having a landfill and bringing in a private contractor for the price. The fact that we can stretch out the longevity of our landfill, hopefully to that 50 to 55 year range. Most landfills operate with this piece of equipment no matter what. I do believe that there is in the future going to be some other technologies and other ways to get rid of the waste. But we are embarking on a whole different time right now of the way we operate our landfill. And this piece of equipment is vital to stretch out the longevity. So again, I think we all can appreciate that we need to take care of this planet and be stewards of the environment. But that comes not through proven technology at this time. When we see some larger municipalities having more success than what they're having now with some of this technology, we should be able to move slowly into that direction. But no matter what we do, we're still going to need a compactor because to operate a landfill without one just doesn't make a lot of sense. So I appreciate everybody's comments, and I know a lot of people put a lot of thought and effort into where we're at here today. So, and the fact that we do have these reserves, and we will be replacing these as we move forward. And after our conversation today, we will be looking at putting some money away for the future. So when these technologies are proven, we'll be ready to jump in. So this time I'll call for a vote on the recommendation to buy the new compactor. All those in favor? Thank you. Opposed? So noted, Councillor Rudy. Thank you all. Okay, next up, council reports. The fun time. We're going to start at the top of my screen. I don't know how you guys look, but we're going to go with Councillor Warwa.
All right. Well, I've actually had a very simple one. I had the legislature meeting on the 2nd. Unfortunately, was unable to attend the last VTAB meeting, so I will leave that to Councillor Lemko. And then today's strategic planning and council. It was an easy one. Okay.
Well, Councillor Warwa, I want to thank you for your input on some policies that you've been working on with Cliff, and your thoughts, and helping write the letters to Solicitor General and the Justice Department that we're moving forward with. And all this takes a lot of your time. And I want you to know that I appreciate all the things that you're doing behind the scenes. So
no problem. In future, I will try to keep a letter to a short book.
You're just very creative, and you touched all the points. So thank you. Up next will be Councillor Rudy.
So the last couple of weeks has actually been very busy. February 24th, the Healthcare Aid Working Group met, and I'll let Councillor Waters share some of that information. On February 26th, during the day, AUMA had a provincial budget review webinar, which was helpful to sort of understand the implications of some of the things that they explained. And then later in that evening, having Premier Kenny and Minister Mciver available on the call to be able to hear their impression of what they think is happening to municipalities. We may disagree, and I think probably the impact that each of our communities is feeling, I think we probably have a different impression about what this budget means to our community. And I want to reiterate that we've been very responsible, and I can see progressively over my time on council since 2010 that we're doing a better job of forecasting and setting aside reserves with a targeted purpose. So I really appreciate that we've been able to do that, which is a great way to be able to protect ourselves from a very challenging provincial budget. So that at least is reassuring for us. The second, and I have a lot of FCM meetings because we're moving into next week this week is our quarterly meeting, which would normally be in Prince George. So on February 2nd, I had an increasing women's participation in municipal government meeting, which culminated today in International Women's Day webinar on building inclusive communities. There was Mayor Tate from Souk, BC, myself, Bev Esslinger, as well as some service group leaders, and Mayor Vicky Mayham from the village of Magog in Quebec, talking about what it means in our communities to encourage local leadership to run. And I appreciate your acknowledgement at the beginning of this council meeting for the number of women that we have elected in Vegreville, but also to all of our colleagues that are willing to stand at our side and protect the sanctity of this democratic process. So the best candidates ideally win, but we always have lots of people that run every time. So that's what this basically was talking about today, is encouraging women to run in their communities across the country. Backing up again, we had FCM Election Readiness Working Group, which is talking about budgeting as well as the upcoming potential federal election and how we need to position our issues as municipal leaders. And in particular, we've met a couple times as Alberta Caucus from FCM, talking about how Alberta needs to have their needs met and acknowledged in some of those decisions as well. On March 4th, we had our Economic Development Board meeting. So it was nice to be able to get together. We brought in our new manager to that meeting. So it was great to be able to have our committee together to talk about some of our initiatives and be able to look forward to the upcoming year. There are some good things happening locally, a lot of businesses that are expanding, building, or moving to the community. So those moves are helpful, as well as a very positive realtors forecasting for the community. A lot of houses have been sold, and some of them are the higher priced homes, not just the low price homes that were investment properties. So there's a lot of good things happening in the face of a very challenging 2021. So we have a good conversation with our Economic Development Board, and we are looking for 2 more board members. So I'll look forward to having new board members as well as a new manager at our next meeting. And again, today, the FCM meeting, as well as an AUMA, International Women's Day virtual gathering. And I just want to remind everybody that there is a good follow on Twitter. Parody Bot is a bot that generates positive commentary whenever there is a negative or misogynist comment on Twitter. And it's a great factual way to be able to do something. So if any of you are on Twitter, I would encourage you to add that to your repertoire. That's a bot that's generated out of Edmonton, and it's fantastically positive element to add to Twitter. So Parody Bot is a must-have if you're on Twitter. Tonight's meeting, and again, I think the opportunity to be able to explore other options. I always am looking for a new way and a better way to be able to make sure that we plan for the future. So thank you. Although I wasn't successful in convincing all of you, this is not an unproven technology, but I do appreciate the opportunity to be able to look forward in a different path. So thank you all for your support.
Councilor Waters.
Okay, so on February 24th, the working meeting with Red Deer College for the Healthcare Aid Program. Leanne Labrash is the program coordinator. And if anyone heard the talk of the town today, the buzz is out there and we are working on getting the information out now. So March 17th at 7 o'clock, there's a virtual information center or session, sorry. So anybody that's interested in the healthcare aid program, everything's gonna be laid out there. There is limited space. So if you're interested, please register. I have it on Facebook and I'm sure a few others have shared it as well. The link to get onto that. So pretty exciting. September 2nd is our start date. So we're looking for at least 8 students and we've had more interest than that so far. So looking forward to seeing that being a successful rollout. Today I attended the International Women's Day virtual gathering and the theme for 2020-2021, choose to challenge. Women tend to, a lot of women, not all women, tend to pull back, but we have to be out there front and center. We're here, as you can see on our council, and our voices are just as important as anyone else. And that was talked about quite a bit on the virtual gathering, so it was pretty interesting. And then today's meetings. And I just want to add one more thing. It's not on my council report. Just something that I've noticed for motorists to be a little more mindful. The weather is warmed up. There's more people out. Children are out playing. People are walking. People are jogging. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is I'm a walker. And I had not a close call, but a call nonetheless while I was walking. So I just wanted to, put it out there. Just be a little more mindful as it is warming up now. So thank you.
Are you talking about somebody hitting a puddle and almost getting you splashed?
Well, sure.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Brodziak.
Just realized I was on mute. On March 2nd, Legislative Committee meeting. March 4th, we had our Chamber of Commerce Board meeting. We discussed the Shop Here campaign that's been going on for a few months now. That was a collaboration between the Economic Development, Community Futures, and the Chamber of Commerce. And it was at a cost of $2,500 for each of the 3 partners. The intent was to provide small businesses with up to 30 small businesses with websites. And so far there's only been an uptake of 10. So the deadline to do that is the end of March. So if any one of you know of anyone out there, please forward them off to Community Futures or Chamber of Commerce or our Economic Development Department. And they'll definitely benefit from these websites. We also discussed at our chamber meeting upcoming golf tournament for a fundraiser, so possibly in June. Discussed also the guest speaker that had attended the AGM, Pierre Poilievre, and what an excellent choice of a guest speaker. He provided a dynamic presentation. Also, there's a Vegreville vodka that's been out in the liquor stores, and that was quite surprising to the chamber, because the chamber actually owns the rights to the Pesinka. And I know as the town of Vegreville, we do pay, I think it is right now, $18,000 a year to be able to use the Pesinka in our promotions. So there was definitely some discussion regarding if this was copyright infringement, as they didn't pay the chamber anything, didn't even contact the chamber to use the Vegreville Pesinka on the vodka. So that'll be, I'm sure, discussed in the future as well. I'm not sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing. If it was a Grey Goose vodka, that would definitely be, I think, good to promote Vegreville. We also discussed the VVA will be painting, they'll be doing a spring project. So looking forward to that spring project, because they've always done phenomenal events or different projects to boost the community spirit. On March 4th as well, economic development meeting, and the 3 meetings today, the special meeting, public hearing, and tonight's council meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Berry.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll leave most of this to Councillor Lemko, but on February 23rd, we had a corn maze meeting. I think there's a lot of enthusiasm going there. I actually had to drive by earlier today to see how much snow is gone, and it's starting to warm up nicely. So we're excited about some planning for next year. On the 26th, Northern Lights Library Board meeting, most of that was taken up with putting through more policies and etc. We've got a new executive director now, and he seems to be very enthused with being there. And I did actually make a motion that the Northern Lights support our library and all libraries to get opened earlier in phase 2, and probably before the letter even got drafted, lo and behold, they're open in phase 2. So I'm pleased to see that the libraries have gotten more latitude to reopen. We had talked about it in our council meeting, and we were going to put in a letter of support, but I'm glad to see that that's all taking place now. Ledge meeting on March the 2nd, and the 3 meetings tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Lemko.
Yes, Your Worship. I attended the corn maze meeting on February the 23rd. It was sort of like our first meeting of the year, just to get the committee up to speed on where we are, what we should be talking about, and what should we be thinking. The corn maze, some of the discussion was centered around the startup dates, looking at the weekend of September 11th, and going maybe 5-6 weekends to October 16th, 17th being the last weekend. The Thanksgiving weekend would be a 3-day event. And we'll also capitalize on an evening a flashlight tour through the corn maze. We talked about the success of Sparky being so welcomed by the children that we threw out the Maisie mascot and what that looked like. We had some quotes from some mascot companies. So Certainly you might see a corn mazy out there this year. We talked about themed weekends, once again, to capitalize on attracting different people groups like we did last year. So there's discussion on what those themed weekends might look like. Some might be the same. There were some discussions on keeping the petting zoo, pony rides, and the wagon rides, as that drew a lot of attention from the people, and it was welcomed. There is also, with the changes to the event center, there's potential for some other things going on there. So we're excited. We know that regardless if the corn grows or not, we can have a corn maze. So it's good to see it. I'm glad you've been out there, Dave. Get your rubber boots on, might be putting some corn in the ground already just to make sure it is there. The committee is excited. We're going to be reaching out to our sponsors, see if they're still with us. And some of our volunteer groups already have come forward to say they'd like to be still involved. So it's all good news. We're excited. And that'll be in September. So hopefully everybody's vaccinated and we can do that without masks out there. Well, time will tell. March 1st, I attended the VTAB meeting, Vegreville Tourism Advisory Board meeting. And it was the last meeting for some of our members. We want to extend a sincere thank you to Jerry Ziegler and Lynn Bullock for their time on the board and the amount of efforts and that they put in, and the differences of their thought process with the rest of the board. We are looking for 2 new members, economic development representative, and also a real estate professional services representative. So throw your name in and come on to one of the best boards in town. We did talk a little bit about some of the events that are happening in the community already, or some of the thought of events. Nagle Tours has reached out to Vegreville. They're looking to do COVID-friendly day trips out to the Hague, out of Edmonton. They're also looking at Ukrainian Adventure, going to the village and maybe Mundare, but stopping at the Sanka Park market on Thursday nights and then going home. So that could be a busload of people looking to see our community. There was talk about the what Art Walk 21 might look like. There's an addition of 7 or 8 art posts that are going up in the community. The visual artists have painted some new ones. I believe 2 of which will be at the by the cenotaph there, 2 posts, and then additional ones throughout the community. The art walk will include some window fronts painted in the community, so some displays on there. So it's explore the community through window galleries and that kind of stuff. So it's in the process. There was some discussion around the mural, and could it be through cultural diversity and inclusion? Maybe that's something to talk about. So we're in that talking stages, and the visual artists have some conceptual ideas around that. That's sort of like the summary of what was at the tourism board meeting. March 2nd, I attended the ledge meeting, and then today's workshop, public hearing, and tonight's council meeting. That's all I have, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for what you do. I've attended all the regular meetings of council. I've been at a few extra meetings of the John S. Patuque Water Commission as we're trying to get a few things straightened out there and move forward. Hopefully more of a long-term sustainability issue with our, not that we're worried about the water or anything like that, but just how it's being supplied and backup lines and stuff like that. I've talked to a couple of investors that I try to keep that want to be coming to town here, and I try to keep weekly conversations going with them. Cliff and myself had a conversation with an entrepreneur today that him and his son, that they hope to be in business around April 1st in town, and he'll be moving his whole family here. Hopefully everything works out. He picked up his application for business license and stuff today, so it was a nice meeting, and wish him all the luck. And I promised Mayor and at least 3 3 counselors there to be there for his grand opening. So I'll be tapping a few on the shoulder here pretty soon. But I also been feeling a lot of calls, some positive, some negative. But in the last week or so, a lot of it had to do with the opening of the gym. A lot of people were concerned that council made the decision not to open the gym. I don't really believe council made a decision not to open the gym. So that's what they said they were being told. So I've asked Phil to give us the guidelines and where their department's thoughts are right now. And then we're going to go ahead and have a conversation about it. So go ahead, Phil.
Thank you, Worship and Council. Yes, as you said, our staff have actually fielded a large number of calls, as myself as well, taking a large brunt of from the community about the gym not opening. So on February 16th ledge meeting, I made a recommendation was made by myself, and that was made through discussion with Recreation and based on the best interpretation of the AHS guidelines and in discussion with other municipalities. And so what we had come up with was the gym, the cardio and the weight room will remain closed at this point, and we would reevaluate it on March 15th and possibly opening with guidelines in place, because I know a lot of communities are feeling the same as us. And what the best way I can try to explain this is that everybody is reiterating to private gyms opening up, and private gym owners are taking the full responsibility of that happen. It all revolves around one word, and that's intensity. So low intensity is fine, high intensity is not. What is low intensity for me may be high intensity for someone else, and it's unfair to put on municipalities or to anybody to determine what is that intensity. They just basically talk about not being able to hold a steady conversation because you're out of breath. So where was I going? So yes, and we had some discussion with other communities, and what we'd come up is that the gym would remain closed and we'll reassess it because it is a very hot topic right now. And we're asking questions of the government as to the meaning of intensity and how we determine that. The pool activities that will resume, the Aqua Fit classes, which is a maximum of 10 people with an instructor, group lessons, maximum of 10 people with an instructor. We'll open it for family swim bookings. A parent must book and prepay for their family session. They will sign a waiver confirming that it is their family and their family only to avoid any friends and guests coming. The lane swims will be open for low intensity swimming in lanes 1, 3, and 5 only. And that will leave 3 meters in between. With 2 and 4 closed, that leaves 3 meters in between. The reason for opening up that lane swim is that we have trained lifeguards have to be on staff, and they are trained so they can determine if somebody is starting to swim too hard, and then they can slow them down. And this is where it comes into the difference between different municipalities. Some municipalities are opening their gym, but they have it staffed. And that staff member is watching the people to determine it. You cannot watch on a camera and determine that somebody is breathing heavy or is doing a heavy workout. So like say, for instance, you know what, lifting 2 5-pound weights may not do anything. You increase that to 15 and now you're getting into a heavy workout. And that's where we're struggling with trying to determine this. And then when I had our talk, Mr. Mayor, that we would bring this up for discussion and have council make that determination. And I can't base this on what my personal thoughts are. I'm simply going by what the interpretation of the rule is and of the AHS guidelines and in discussion with other municipalities. Some municipalities are a lot bigger in terms of their gym size and they get more people. We can have a maximum of 3 in our gym. And that means we would have to have a staff member for 3 people that is to oversee that. If I read the guidelines right, that's what I interpret it. But it doesn't specifically say, but somebody needs to be there to clean the machines after each person and monitor, because that's what they're talking about in terms of high intensity. You can have a high intensity if it's one-on-one. The moment you don't have a trained person there, it now becomes a determination of basically the municipality or a private ownership gym. So the recommendation for, so all the AHS guidelines are being followed. That includes an entry and exit protocols. No one will be able to pass each other in the facility. All the physical distancing requirements will be in place. The lockers are closed at this time. The showers and the washrooms are open, and they'll be routinely cleaned after each block of specific activity. There will be a spot for personal belongings out on the deck, all spaced 3 meters apart. And again, all the cleaning guidelines are being followed. The pool and the sauna and the hot tub will remain closed. We did talk about opening the racquetball court for individuals only. And is it high intensity? Yes, but they're an enclosed area. They're by themselves, and we can disinfect it after that person leaves. And there's really about 3 or 4 people that want to use that. So we're doing our best to try and accommodate everybody. And I realize the gym is a contentious issue right now. And the reason for me bringing that recommendation forth to keep the gym closed was that I can't justify having a staff member to watch over 3 people in the gym at this point. So that's where I'm at.
Just for clarity, if somebody wants to use the gym, do they still have to book an appointment?
Yes, everything has to be pre-booked.
Okay. So let's weigh in here, council. We'll start with Councilor Warwa.
Well, I'm sorry, Phil, but you and I are on a very different page on this. I have made several calls as well. This is the reality. When looking at the situation, I feel very sorry for the staff that we are constantly getting announcements from the province that come in, like our last one that happened just as we finished our legislative meeting. So we obviously, council did not in any way recommend that this was to happen. But what I'm going to say is the recommendation I'm giving is based upon 3 things: safety, mental health, and resources. So first of all, as far as resources, we are not required to stand there one-on-one. We are not required to go in and decide intensity. I've had multiple conversations. Not only is it on AHS talking about things such as the ability for weightlifting, the minister himself in a statement, which all council has seen because I've sent it to you, also indicated treadmill, etc. If we were a large gym, I'd be more concerned because we would have to be in and separating, but we are still in a situation where people are individually booking to go in. I went back into our notes. If we look at our notes prior, we were comfortable allowing these same type of regulations that are allowed right now prior. We already had the cleaning protocol in place. We already have the resources. We're not hiring new staff. There does not need to be a staff member standing there. And quite frankly, I actually think we would almost be insane to allow something to the likes of having racquetball opened, but suggest that separated space within the gym is in some way going to be an issue. We heard the minister. They're not out there fining anybody. I get it. It's ridiculous that they say things like low intensity because it puts us in a position, but I do not actually believe that our staff members are concerned with that. I've had numerous outreach, and everybody may have heard that just today they announced that the retail can go back up from 15 to 25. They're announcing that indoor sports can continue with the groups of 10. So they're going to those level of restrictions. I don't feel like we're putting any more resource. I don't feel like we're jeopardizing, and I understand the need for protocol, but we need to work on mental health. Not everybody can afford the private one-on-one, and I'm strongly rejecting the recommendation not to open the gym. I want to see it open basically immediately.
Okay, thank you. Who else wants to weigh in on this? Counselor Lemko.
Yes, Your Worship. I've had numerous residents of the community contact me as to why the gym isn't open. Use an example, St. Paul opened their gym today under the AHS guidelines. Their indoor fitness will be only with appointments only. Low intensity individual exercise are now allowed, and those are without a trainer. Masks must be worn during all times of low individual intensity. And there'll be a maximum of 2 people out in the gym at the same time, 1 hour booking time slots. And there is a chart that most of the gyms in the province that are open is using as the rating of perceived exertion chart 1 through 10, and 4 being the light activity, where breaking a sweat and comfortable speaking is where they determine low intensity. And they just put check marks to that level, and you must maintain within these check marks for low intensity training. There's no need to be monitoring these folks, and there's only two people in the gym. A lot of people are saying they can't afford to go to with trainers and such, but they want to go to the gym. And so I think we should certainly revisit and open the gym. I mean, we're not talking a lot of people in there. So I think we should look at it in seriousness. And a lot of the residents are voicing their concern. When they voice concern to me, it must be concerning.
Councilor Barry.
Yeah, I can appreciate that all too often the government uses catchphrases that can't be interpreted very easily. And I agree with what Phil is saying in terms of what, for me, would take my breath away, wouldn't even work a sweat on him. But at the same time, I still believe that we need to be opening up our facilities wherever and whenever possible. And I don't think that if they have to pre-book, and they're going to show some responsibility, in my belief, if they're pre-booking and have the opportunity to go in and use the weight room, that I think that they'll be doing so in a sensible manner. I think that we still have staff around that can periodically take a look at things, but I don't think we have to provide even one-on-one. So I'd be in favor of this tonight, making determination that the gym should open. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Waters.
The determination of intensity, I agree, is a difficult one to do. But when we had the gym open before, we had protocols in place, and the gym users were very respectful of that, as far as I could tell, as far as I've seen. And I think that would be the same thing again, booking it and limiting the number of people and the number of the time that you're in there and stuff like that. It might be a little more tricky when it comes to the treadmills and the cardio stuff, because then you are really exerting yourself. Well, some people are more so. So I'm not sure about the cardio machines themselves, as long as we can keep them low intensity with the checklist and, you know, having the people there. They're there for their health, and they're going to be respectful as far as I can tell. And it is mental clarity as well when you are working out.
So does anybody else want to say anything regarding this? Because we're going to have a vote. Okay, Councilor Riddick.
I think it's fairly clear that we are all in one accord. I think if we had managed previously, and that was when we weren't familiar with trying to implement new protocol, all we're doing is revisiting some of the same restraints that we had before. So whether it's high intensity or low intensity, to my mind, is just spurious from the province. They're inserting other wording that is just trying to make it more difficult for us. So if we remove that portion of it in terms of our decision making, the number of people that can be accommodated in that space is small, and our staff did a great job before, and I believe that they can manage again. So if we can try to accommodate the public as well as our staff, that's what we should do.
Okay, so I think that we should have a motion to move forward here. Councilor Barry, and your motion would be?
I would make a motion that we reopen the gym with COVID measures in place, pre-booking, low intensity. I think Phil has the wherewithal to put that together for me. And I want to also say that this is not dumping on Phil. I think this is a thing that had to come to council, and we had to take a look at what we're faced with today, not a few days ago. So that would be my motion.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. I would like to make a comment that I feel the government, with their announcements, sometimes there's no warning at where they're going, and low intensity doesn't mean nothing to anybody. I do not believe that this issue would be where it was at had the government brought in basically what they did last time when they opened the gyms. When they threw this extra wrinkle in here, it didn't make a lot of sense. But that being said, this is not for Phil's position to be responsible for the backlash in the community. He's making a recommendation based on other conversations he's had with other municipalities. And this is what being on council is for. This is an issue that needs to be resolved. And we have a motion on the floor and we're going to resolve it. No backlash will fall on Director Rowe over this. It'll come back to council. So we have a motion on the floor to reopen the gym following all the new protocols that the government has in place and expecting the staff to do exactly what they did the last time when it was open. The cleaning procedures and all that in place. So all those in favor? There you go. Thank you for the time and the work you put in on this, Phil.
Yes, you're welcome, sir.
If you're seeing a problem, please let us know as soon as you can.
Will do.
Okay. Seeing that, I have got nothing else on my agenda. So is there anything that anybody want to bring up before we adjourn the meeting? Seeing none, thank you all. And hope you enjoy the rest of your week. I now adjourn this